Friends, I want to talk to you today about a very important part of the Torah. As you have heard in times past, you heard people say the Torah's done away with. It is not done away with. In fact, there is some things in the Torah that has not come to pass just yet. Just yet. Let me ask you a question. If the Torah was done away with, wouldn't the earth be done away with? Because Bereshit chapter 1 verse 1 says, in the beginning, Yahshua created the heavens and the earth. Bereshit in Hebrew is Genesis. Bereshit is the Hebrew word and Genesis is the English word. Bereshit says, in the beginning, Yahshua created the heavens and the earth. If it was done away with, wouldn't the heavens and the earth be done away with too? And wouldn't every prophecy in the Torah be done away with too? Let me tell you something. There's prophecy in the Torah that hasn't come to pass yet. And in just a few moments, I will read you what hasn't come to pass yet. First of all, I want to reveal something to you. I want to show you in the Torah that the Torah is not done away with. I want you to take a good look for this. The Torah is not done away with, friends. It is not done away with. For Torah, and this is what the literally word Torah means, okay? The Torah is Yah's teachings and instructions. The Torah is Yah's teachings and instructions. The Torah is Yah's teachings and instructions. I want you to take a good look at it. Okay, this is where I want you to go to. I want you to go to Genesis chapter 49. I want you to go to Genesis chapter 49. Genesis chapter 49. Bereshit is the Hebrew word. Bereshit is the Hebrew word for Genesis. Okay? Go with me to Genesis chapter 49. What is it? Genesis chapter 49. I'm going to read kind of lengthy. It's going to be a kind of lengthy read, but let me just tell you this. When I get through, you will know that the Torah, of course, the Torah is not done away with for you. People's just telling you lies. Don't settle for people telling you. Ask Yahshua. Ask the Father. When someone tells you something and it doesn't line up with Scripture, ask the Father, Yahshua. And it says in Matthew chapter 4 verse 10, it says, worship Yahshua and serve only Him. Don't serve man, serve Yahshua. turn with me to Genesis chapter 49. Chapter 49. Okay. We'll start off in the first verse. The first verse through the 19th verse. Through the 19th verse. Gather yourselves together. Okay. Then Yaakov called for his sons and said, gather yourselves together, and I will tell you what will happen to you in the Okay, I want to pause there for a minute, and I want to show you something. Show your word. The word means latter days or last days in Hebrew. It says right here, then Yaakov called for his sons and said, gather yourselves together, and I will tell you what will happen to you in the latter days. Assemble yourselves and listen, sons of Yaakov. Pay attention to Israel, your father. Means last days or latter days in Hebrew. Let me start at the beginning. Again. Then Yaakov called to his sons and said, gather yourselves together, and I will tell you what will happen to you in the assemble yourselves and listen, sons of Yaakov. Pay attention to Israel, your father. Reuben. This is Reuben, who some people call Reuben, but it's Reuben with a V. It's not a B, a V. Reuben. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, the first fruits of my manhood. Though superior in vigor and power, you are unstable as water. So your superiority will end, because you climbed into your father's bed and defiled it. He climbed onto my concubine's couch. Shimon and Levi are brothers, related by weapons of violence. Let me not enter their counsel. Let me honor. Let my honor not be connected with their people. For in their anger they killed men, and at their whim they maimed cattle. Cursed be their anger, for it has been fierce. Their fury, for it has been cruel. I will divide them in Yaakov and scatter them in Israel. Yehuda, your brothers will acknowledge you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down before you. Yehuda is a cub. My son, you stand over the prey. He crouches down and stretches like a lion. like a lioness who stares to provoke him. The scepter will not pass from Yehuda, nor the ruler's staff from between his legs, until he comes to whom obedience belongs, and it is he whom the peoples will obey, tying his donkey to the vine. Now, friends, right here in Bereshit chapter 49, verses 8 through 11, is talking about the prophecy. This is Yaakov telling Yehuda what's going to happen in the latter days. And he's telling him in Akar Hamim what's going to happen. And this is what's going to happen to Yehuda. Listen very closely. This is prophecy about the Messiah. Yehuda, this is verse 9 of Bereshit chapter 49 through 11. Yehuda, your brothers will acknowledge you. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down before you. Yehuda is a lion's cub. My son, you stand over the prey. He crouches down and stretches like a lioness who dares to provoke him. The scepter will not pass from Yehuda, nor the ruler's staff from between his legs, until he comes to whom obedience belongs, and it is he whom the peoples will obey, tying his donkey to the vine. Okay, we're picking back up in Bereshit chapter 49, verse 11 through 19. His donkey's coat to the choice grapevine. He washes his clothes in wine, his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes will be darker than wine, his teeth whiter than milk. Zubulun, this is to Zubulun now, Zubulun, with a Z. Zubulun will live at the seashore, with ships anchoring along his coast, and his border as Edom. Yizkor is a strong donkey, lying down in the sheep sheds on seeing how good is settled life, and how pleasant the country. He will bend his back to the burden and submit to forced labor. Dan would judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Let me talk about Dan for a few minutes. Samson was out of the tribe of Dan. If you remember in the book of Judges, Samson was one of the judges that judged as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan would judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. That's what Samson did in the book of Judges. If you read the book of Judges, it tells you that Samson judged along with Samson, Gideon, and also Samuel was one of the judges too, but he was one of the last judges that judged Israel. It says that Dan will judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be a viper on the road, a horned snake in the path that bites the horse's heels. So its rider falls off backward. I wait for your deliverance. I wait for your deliverance, Yahshua. Let me read that again. Dan will judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be a viper on the road, a horned snake in the path that bites the horse's heels. So its rider falls off backward. I wait for your deliverance, Yahshua. Okay, now I'm going to read from Bereshit chapter 49, verse 19 through 27. Gad, this is starting the Gad, G-A-D, troop. A troop will troop on him. Excuse me. Gad, troop. A troop will troop on him. but he will troop on their heels. Asher's food is rich. He will provide food fit for a king. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is a fruitful plant by spring, with branches climbing over the wall. The archers attacked him fiercely, shooting at him and pressing him hard, but his bow remained taut, and his arms were made nimble by the hands of the mighty one of Yaakov. From the shepherd, the stone of Israel, by the Yahshua of your father, who will help you, by El Shaddai, who will bless you with blessings from heaven above. Blessings from the deep lying below, blessings from the breast and the womb, blessings of your father are more powerful than the blessings of my parents. Extending to the furthest of the everlasting hills, they will be on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince among his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, in the evening still dividing the spoil. Friends, that was Bereshit chapter 49, verse 1 through 27. So you see, the Torah is definitely not done away with. Where the Torah was done away with, this is what Yaakov said to his children. Yaakov said to the 12 tribes of Israel. He said, Then Yaakov called to his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, and I will tell you what will happen to you in the Assemble yourselves and listen, sons of Yaakov, pay attention to Israel, your father. The word is this. It means latter days in Hebrew. Latter days in Hebrew. So you don't have, when you have a KJV or any other Bible, it don't tell you the truth. It don't tell you all the truth. It don't have Hebrew words in there. And it means latter days or last days. And Yaakov was telling all of his sons what was going to happen to them in the latter days. If the Torah was done away with, he would have said, he wouldn't have said that. He wouldn't have said this was going to happen to you in the latter days. Friends, I'm here to tell you that the Torah is not done away with, and it never was done away with. I'll spell that word for you so you can look it up for yourself. It's ACHARTITHAYIM. Akaret means last days or latter days. Excuse me. Friends, I'm here to tell you the Torah is not done away with. If you think the Torah is done away with, go and read the Torah for yourself. Read it, study it, because it is not done away with. There is things in the Torah that hasn't come to pass just yet. They will come to pass, but they haven't come. This is another one that ain't come to pass yet. Thing is, Yahshua HaMashiach is in heaven, is in Shemael. He's the King, he's the Messiah, but he is not to be worshipped. Matthew 4, chapter 10, verse says, Matthew 4, verse 10 says, Worship Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh and serve only him. That's what Yahshua said in what is called the renewed covenant. And let me tell you what the renewed covenant is, friends. The renewed covenant ain't Matthew through Revelation. The renewed covenant is the Torah itself. Friends, when Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh renewed that covenant, it was the Torah that he renewed. It's one covenant. It's not two covenants. It's one covenant. one covenant with the Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. We got one covenant, not two, not three, one. And that covenant is from the Torah, and when he renewed it, he renewed the Torah. That is the renewed covenant, friends. The Torah is the renewed covenant. Friends, I'm here to tell you, Matthew through Revelation was witnesses of the Messiah. They witnessed and they saw what the Messiah came and did. They witnessed, they heard, and they saw what Yahshua did. And when they seen it, they wrote it down. All Matthew through Revelation is witnesses to what Yahshua said about the Torah, about the Tanakh. If there's a word from Matthew to Revelation that isn't in the Torah, then it's added on too, because the Torah is the renewed covenant. Because I can prove that to you prove that to you in Hebrews chapter 8. Let's go there. Hebrews chapter 8. You will see Hebrews chapter 8, 10 through 11. For this is the covenant which I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahshua. I will put my Torah in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their Yah, and they will be my people. Where did he say he's going to write the Torah on? What did he say he's going to make the covenant with? But this is the covenant which I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahshua. I will put my Torah in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their Yahshua, and they will be my people. Where did he write the Torah at? On your hearts and your minds. On your hearts and your minds. What's the renewed covenant? The Torah. Where did he write the Torah at? On your hearts and your minds. That's where he wrote the Torah at. That's the renewed covenant, friends. Matthew through Revelation are witnesses. They are witnesses to Yahshua HaMashiach, what he did upon this earth. They are not to be mistaken with the renewed covenant, because the renewed covenant is the Torah, because he renewed his covenant with the people of Israel. With the people of Israel. And the people, the children of Israel's job is to go out there and spread his message to the Hebrew first, and then to the Goyim, which is Gentile and Hebrew. That is the job of our people Israel, to witness to this whole entire earth. And let me tell you something, friends. You better pray before you listen to somebody who says, oh, the Torah's done away with. We don't have to do that anymore. Torah's done away with. Well, let me I'll tell you another thing. The Torah says, do not murder. Okay? In chapter 20, it says, do not murder. So if the Torah's done away with, and it says, do not murder, then let me tell you something. If the Torah was done away with, we would all be dead. Because when it said, do not murder, that would be done away with, and everybody be killing each other. And we wouldn't have structure. The Torah is our teachings and instructions. Remember, the Torah is teachings and instructions. And in the King James Version, it reads law. But the truth is, the Torah is teachings and instructions. And yes, you obey his teachings and instructions, because if you don't, you will get the consequences of your sins when you don't obey Yahshua's teachings and instructions. Friends, I just want to thank you for being with us today. I want you to take this video, share it with people, share it with colleges, wherever you want to share this video with people, so that they can learn that the Torah is not done away with. I want you to have Torah is not done away with. And no, it is not done away with. Let me tell you something. To you people who are saying the Torah is done away with, you will see. You will see. And let me tell you something. You will have to face Yahshua of the universe one day when he says to you, this is in Matthew, the book of Matthew, when he says to you, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you. To know the Torah is to know the Father. To know the Torah is to know the Messiah. Because it's the Torah that spoke about the Messiah. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 15 through 19. And Bereshit chapter 49, verse 9 through 11. And in Bereshit chapter 22. I can go on and on with the prophecies that's in the Torah about the Messiah. And there's quite a bit of prophecy in the Torah about the Messiah, because if the Torah wasn't the truth, then we wouldn't know the Messiah. The Torah is the truth. The Torah is the truth. Thank you for being with us today. Yahshua bless you and keep you. May Yahshua make his face to shine on you. May Yahshua be gracious to you. May Yahshua lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. Amen. If you have any prayer requests, email me at Gary N. LaRue, number 2 at hotmail.com. And check out my Facebook page, Education of the Torah. I got Education of the Torah. It's a Facebook page, so join today so you can be part of the family who is teaching about the Torah and educating people about the Torah. The Torah is the truth. The Torah is the renewed covenant, and the Torah was the one the covenant that Yah renewed with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he renewed it again with Israel. Friends, he renewed the Torah. The Torah is the covenant that we're going by. You will find out. So don't let people mislead you, friends.